I'm really excited to be able to introduce Maria Eddy to you. This is a part of Source Anti-Trafficking Annex Network video series that we're doing. This last year, Maria has been what we've called our volunteer director, as we've had a season of development. And right now, this summer of 2014, we're in the Taking the Next Step campaign for the Annex Network. And part of that is to be able to hire Maria Eddy as the Director and Caseworker for our Transitional Home and also start outreach. So Maria, thanks for being here. Thank you for all the work this last year. Let's just get right into some of your background. So Maria, you're originally from Holland, and then you spent about 20 years with Youth with a Mission in Asia, primarily.
Right, yeah.
And in 2003, you were a part of helping Eden Ministries start their first transitional home in China. And so give us just a little bit background of that and what you did there working with trafficking victims.
Okay. In 2002, I moved to China with my husband and family, and met some other missionaries that had a heart for women in prostitution there. And what we started to do was prayer walk the red light district, not really knowing what we were doing. None of us had ever done that before, and we just started praying and asking God for direction. And Christmas was coming up, and we had the idea to get some little gifts together and go into brothels and hand them to the girls there. And that really opened the door, because for one, in China you're not allowed to share the gospel, and it was a great way to come in and say, "Oh, Merry Christmas." They would ask us, why are you giving us gifts? Because their initial response was to get money and pay for it. They thought we were selling, and we're like, no, we're giving this to you. And that was a foreign concept to them. And that was a great way to introduce the meaning of Christmas. And in the weeks following, when they would see us walk the red light district, they would invite us in, and they would have us sit down and have tea with them. And that's how we slowly got to know the girls there. Yeah.
So we talk a lot about making contact and gaining trust.
Yeah, very much. So. That was what was needed, and it was also a lot just being faithful and showing up on a weekly basis when we said we would show up and be there.
And you talked about, I know you have stories about the woman who is the leader of the brothel, the madam. Tell us a little bit about her role, how it was kind of, seemed confusing, loving, and at the same time, being someone that was victimizing the women.
Yes.
But also, she had a conversion experience through your relationship with her.
Yes, yeah. What we noticed, for us to come into a brothel, it was very important to build a relationship with the madam herself, to get her approval to be allowed in the
she had control and authority.
Totally. Yes, and of course she didn't understand what we wanted, and so once we had her approval, that meant by also talking to her and caring for her, which was hard too, because she was, what you said, victimizing the girls, and what you would see was the madam, she'd be sitting there cooking for the girls, making sure they ate, making sure they were healthy, and almost like a mother role, and
right.
Which was very confusing. And I understand too, it's also, she was protecting her investment. It was that part, but it also had a sense of community in a not healthy way, but there was a sense of community.
And then, eventually, she became.
Yes,
she
there was one madam,
Christ.
one of the first ones that allowed us in the brothel, and we befriended her, and she became, and slowly we started to share the gospel with her, and she became a believer. And when she became a believer, she started to understand that the work that she was doing wasn't good, was not good work. And I mean, that didn't happen right away. It took a period of time. And then she closed her brothel, and she sent all her girls home, and she went home herself as well. And after a couple of weeks, she contacted us again, and she was actually the first one that moved into our shelter.
Wow, because so she came to a point of making a decision to follow Christ.
Yes.
But I'm assuming like she didn't have a lot of recovery resources.
Oh no, she went back home and she realized I need to grow in my faith, and at home I don't have that opportunity. I don't know Christians around me.
Right.
And you have to remember, this is China. But anyway, she came back to the place where she had found God, and she literally showed up on our doorstep and was the first one to move in.
So when she's at the shelter, share a little bit about like the continued hope, getting spiritual formation, as well as getting opportunity,
Yes.
building more life skills.
What we discovered early on was it was very important for her to connect with the local church, which was very hard because of how people looked down on her.
The stigma?
The stigma, knowing that she had been a madam. It was very hard to, it was very important to be sensitive about that, to help her find a small group where she would be embraced, because that was a place where she grew and grew in her faith. And besides that too, living in the shelter, living with role models that modeled to her how it is to live a disciplined life, to get up in time, to take care of yourself, look for a job, and all that. Yeah.
And you know, a wonderful picture as well, I know you've shared, is what happened to the brothel?
The brothel she closed it down, and eventually it became a store that they were selling fruits and vegetables. And I just love that picture of redemption. It was literally closed, and good fruit came out of it. So it was a really beautiful reminder when we walked by there. It's like, wow, that was the first brothel that closed down. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So fast forward to these last few years. God had you there for a season, and then He brings you and your family here to Minneapolis a few years ago, and you're able to connect with Source. We've been in relationship for many years.
Yeah.
And I'm knowing that we were starting things with Anti-Trafficking in 2010. So tell us a little bit as you're on the doorstep of becoming our director, and being our initial caseworker with our transitional home and starting our new outreach programs. How do you see that reflected in your experience and our philosophy of hope and opportunity for the women right here in America, in the Midwest?
Yeah. When I arrived here in 2010, part of me was very encouraged to see there was a lot more growing awareness of the human trafficking, the sex trafficking problem, because many times people think, oh, that happens in Europe, that happens in Asia, but it very much happens here in the Twin Cities. It happens here in Minnesota. It happens in the U.S. And I did notice there was more of an awareness of people wanting to be involved. That was growing. There's still a lot of people that still think it happens in Asia. Okay, so there's still growth is needed and awareness is needed. But with the Annex, I'm very encouraged to see people, the vision of coming alongside a church coming alongside, where people from the church who have a desire to be involved, because people have that here, they want to be involved, and can come alongside the women who've come out of prostitution and be the mentors that the girls need, be the role models, help out in the practical skills, because many people think, how can I be involved? I don't go into brothels, I don't do this, but it's in a safer environment almost, and to be to do what you're good at. Some people are good at helping with homework, helping with math, those kind of things, or teaching people to cook or fix cars or bicycles. And in those areas, it's very needed. Yeah,
we think of the transitional home model, one that brings the best of social work and caseworkers and the best of the church a core community. Kind of take the best of both worlds and bringing them together.
And create that community, what is so needed, what they in a way experience in the brothel, not in a healthy way, but that belonging together is so needed. People want to belong, and when a church comes alongside and offers that place without judgment, and wanting to learn from the girls as well, it's mutual learning, and there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. So a couple of things of just being right, being excited about being able to come on staff after you've been a part of this process for really the last couple of years, and especially the last 9 months here. So what, give us just a picture of what are the things that you're excited about that a year from now that we're going to see happen with this, as we're taking the next step.
I'm excited to be involved, like, in people's lives again, hands-on, to walk alongside the girls in their journey, in their process to build a healthy life, and to see healing in their lives, because we're working with women who've been very hurt and who've experienced abuse over and over again, and whose hearts have been hardened. God's promised that He can change that hard heart and give them a heart of flesh and can heal them. And I'm excited to be part of that. That's what excites me, to see people become who they're meant to be.
Right.
And I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see this vision grow and to partner alongside other churches and to see the Annex expand that way, to see more beds opening up through other churches.
Yeah, the opportunities, that there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Applies to this so much. As we know that there's very few beds in America that are offered, and women sometimes have to wait up to a year. So one of the things I'm excited for is the day where we can say, if someone wants to come out, if someone is willing to be part of a church, they're willing to be part of a program, we don't have to say you're on the waiting list.
No, because it's just such a small window of opportunity. When they say they want to come out, I mean, we need to be ready to be able to take them in, because a week later they might not want to come out anymore, or circumstances have changed and they can't. So
I know in closing you wanted to share a verse that was just inspirational to you, so maybe you can kind of close us out with that.
It's in Ezekiel 32:36, and it says, I want to read it out here. It says, "Again, I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh." And that scripture just is an encouragement that God can bring the healing. He can remove that hardness that we will encounter working with wounded people, and that He can do that life change. And I'm excited to be part of that.
Excellent. Well, Maria, thank you for the sacrifices you've made. Thank you for just the journey that you and your family have been on. And again, I'm going to encourage everybody to check out more of the videos and the information about the Taking the Next Step campaign that we're in the middle of, along with some informational meetings that are on calendar too. Thanks.